This is Jonathan Agnew here for Pro Boxing Fans. We're here in London ahead of Saturday night's big card, joined by Jamie Conlan. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm good.
Mick, as you said, is on his way down. Couldn't make it to the press conference today. How's he been, sort of ahead of this fight?
I know everyone says that they've looked the best and felt the best in this camp, but he seems like he's turned a corner and the penny has kind of dropped, and the way he's approaching things the way he's approaching life in general and training during lockdown and during the pandemic, and the outlook now on life that he's got from it is a breath of fresh air. It's very, very good. His training is phenomenal. He looks great. He's in fantastic nick. He's looked fantastic in sparring. I'm just excited now to see the performance on Saturday.
How often are you with him? Sort of, are you in camp with him all the time, or?
Yeah, I go over for a week here and there.
Yeah.
He started camp in Belfast for this one, so he was training in his own gym in his garage. So we would have been with him daily then, and then he goes over, and then we are in constant communication.
Yeah. Obviously on Saturday night he's fighting Sofiane Takoucht. Now we know he fought Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington got rid of him quite quickly, but are people sort of underestimating him as a former European champion?
I think so. I think they're going to compare the two between Michael and Josh, but it's different stages of their career. They're in different positions and where they need to be within their career. Michael's only on his 14th fight. Josh was world champion and had just beat Frampton and Lee Selby before that. So I'm excited to see what Michael does with Takoucht. I know their styles are different between Michael and Josh, so I'm not going to see Michael. I don't think we'll see Michael go out and rush to try and blow him out in 2 rounds. We're looking at certain things internally that needs to be ticked off in this fight, and that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what he's been putting in the gym for 8 weeks to come into play on Saturday.
Now, one thing he has to do that I'm sure you didn't have to was fight behind closed doors, no fans. What have you made of sort of the previous shows without any fans?
I've slightly enjoyed them. I enjoyed the show on Saturday with Natasha Jonas and Terry Harper. I liked that they had no sound, no crowd noise. I enjoyed it better without the crowd noise. You hear the volume of the ferocity of the punches a bit more. But it's nothing new to people who have been in boxing, because when you're fighting as an amateur and you're travelling to all these Eastern European countries and you're competing in Europeans and stuff like this, you're fighting in front of 8 people maybe in a massive indoor arena, and you're hearing thud and shots, and all you hear is your corner and your teammates of your national team. So it's good. It's not good. We are adapting to this normal that is upon us, and it's good that boxing is able to adapt and adjust to everything that's going on. It remains to be seen if it's actually good or not. We're only doing 5 fights a show. No people are really limited people. Slowly but surely going to get more, hopefully. But I don't think we could last for the rest of the year going like this. Boxing needs an atmosphere. Boxing needs a crowd. This not gimmick, but this normal now that we're adjusting to. We're happy with it. We're accepting it. We're enthralled in it because we don't have anything else. So once I think this honeymoon period of it goes away, we'll be sick and tired of it pretty quickly.
Obviously, your brother is sort of between 2 weights, I guess, at the moment. He's got high rankings in both super bantamweight and featherweight. Where do you see his future? Have you spoken to him about what he wants to do?
Yeah, we've had a meeting internally in terms of what is the direction we're going to take. He's always, especially when he joined Adam, they've always been adamant that 122 is his natural division. He started his career at 122, but it was at a time when you were fighting 6-rounders and he was fighting 6 times a year every 2 months, first year and second year of his career. So it was very hard to maintain 122 throughout the whole year, no real break in between. So it was kind of then when we decided we'll move up to 126 and then progress from there. But it was always in the back of the mind that 122 will be the division. So he went and got a lot of tests. They tested his bone density, his water holding, his body mass index, everything like that. And all these tests are coming back to say that he can make 122 healthily. He can make 122 with enough water in his system and enough muscle holding on to perform at elite level. he is looking like he can make 122 for Saturday. He's only 130 at the minute, so he's looking at phenomenal shape. It's just that process of building it down to be fighting at 122. I think there's 1 or 2 fights left before a world championship, so it's about getting it right, matching the fights right at the right weight, and structure slowly but surely coming down, and being healthy as well as being able to compete at that level.
As you mentioned, the World Championship changed hands just recently. Angelo Leo winning. We're expecting to probably face Stephen Fulton because that fight got obviously postponed. Looking at the rankings, Thomas Patrick Ward's in the mix. Is there any names who you think he might target next, Mick?
There is a few. I don't think. One thing about Michael is we've always set out that never really focus on anyone else, just focus on yourself, getting better every day. Within the rankings with the BO, we're looking at various different fights. I know Thomas Patrick Ward is with MTK as well. It's something that can be very easily made. David Alvar-Joyce from Ireland, from MTK. It would be fantastic to see something like that on a St. Patrick's Day in New York. 2 Irishmen, competing for the number 1 position with the WBO for a World Championship. These all things can materialise very quickly. We'll like the match and mix positively with a former world champion, someone who's been there, done it. Can bring him into deep waters, won't just roll over. Someone who's able to test him. We'll look throughout the division. It doesn't matter whoever is next. Whoever the WBO suggests to be next, we will be ready and willing to take.
How satisfied were you seeing his last win against Nikitin? Obviously, redemption, I guess, for the Olympics. Yourself and him must have been over the moon with that.
It was kind of the monkey off the back. You could finish talking about Rio now, and both for Michael and Nikitin, because it was only after that we realised, and speaking of Vladimir, who was alright, that he also lived with the stigma of Michael. You know what I mean? So they both shared something that an unjust that was seen throughout the world. Both sides of the coin. So Michael, I just felt like he had to dust that off before he moved forward with his career. Now we can solely focus on becoming world champions. We can.
Just last on this card, obviously Carl Frampton headlining against the late replacement Darren Traynor. How much sort of a yardstick is Carl for not only Mick but other sort of Irish fighters coming through?
He's the one everyone should be looking up to. He is the most successful Irish fighter to ever put on a pair of gloves. He's doing things that where we're from in Belfast. Our areas, I know we're in different areas, but we are the same working class communities. Where we're from, people from our backgrounds don't go out and do what he's been able to do on the world stage. It's something that every kid then, once they see the likes of Michael, Carl, Katie Taylor, all doing these things, it just drives them on that if he can do it, I can do it. And Frampton has been the consummate professional throughout his career. His career has been gated perfectly, but he's also knocked over some fantastic. Like Leo Santa Cruz in New York was what an achievement to do for someone from Belfast, and it's something that every fighter needs to look up to. How he came through, how he built up. Carl Frampton came with no real big fanfare. He made his debut at 6 o'clock on the Olympia in Liverpool on off TV. No one got to see it, so that's the kind of role model fighters should look out to see as well. Yeah.
Wednesday night, MTK return in Wakefield. John O'Carroll tops the bill. A little preview of that show. You must be delighted to have the shows back on, even behind closed doors.
Even behind closed doors, it was a task. Our shows aren't as big and don't have the big fanfare of Frank Sinetti's, but I believe that we match the most 50-50 competitive cards out of everyone. We give good competitive fights, honest boxing fights. Jano against Maxi Hughes is a potential banana skin for Jano. I think stylistically Maxi Hughes can cause a lot of problems. He doesn't do nothing spectacularly great, but he takes away the opponent's positive output. Jano is on the crest of wave after beating Scott Quigg, and I really do believe this is a potential banana skin. Sean McComb, I believe, could be one of the new stars in Irish boxing. He's fighting out of his weight class against Sir Osgo, who's very, very tough, big, similar to what Frampton is going through in terms of fighting the bigger guy, strong, come forward. It's one of them fights where you're going, this could be another potential banana skin. It's a good fight. Sean should win and move on to bigger things, but Sir's not coming to lie down. It's a show that I'm looking forward to seeing, and I think our show's going forward. Lewis Crocker, David from McKidd from Belfast, who I really rate, James McGivern, Lee McGregor go forward in the 26th. So I'm excited to see MTK back. I'm excited to see our shows back. I'm excited to see our fighters back out in action. The only reason why we're really doing the show is to keep the fighters active. We have a lot of fighters on the roster. It's very hard to keep everyone happy with the two promoters. So we're doing our own shows. We're getting bigger and we're getting better, and hopefully we'll be able to compete with the big guys soon enough.
You mentioned the roster, you're getting bigger. One name you added recently was Dave Allen. Obviously, he's handled his own career for a number of years. He's credited MTK for sort of giving him that guidance so he doesn't have to deal with things. In terms of that Hughie Fury fight, was that ever close or ever spoken about?
It was spoken about. I know Hughie really wanted it, but Dave is at a similar to Hughie, where he's took a lot of tough fights. They need to kind of be looking out for themselves more than looking at what the promoter really wants, especially Dave. Dave had no one really fighting his own corner, and it's kind of something that MTK that we always have, is put the boxer first. We're very pro fighter, not just throwing fighters into the deep end to suit the satisfaction and the vindication of the promoter. So to build a show just to help the promoter. So it's something that really needs to be looked at, especially with Dave, to be built again and give himself a target to go, not just be someone else's target.
One last thing, last week we found out that Frank Warren sent a proposal to Matchroom and Sky, a few crossover fights, quite a few MTK fighters obviously mentioned. In terms of that Joshua Fury fight, before that sort of announcement, it was understood that MTK had a big involvement. How involved are MTK now with that sort of deal, now that news has come out?
Well, it's solely down to Bob Arum now. Bob Arum has took the main reins regarding the fight with Fury and Joshua. Bob is obviously in constant contact with MTK because we have a good relationship, especially with our ESPN deal and Top Rank's involvement with that. And then with Michael and Carl and Josh Taylor and Fury, we have a good relationship with Top Rank. So he's took the reins. He's the one who's leading the ship regarding Fury and Joshua, and it's set to be one of the biggest fights ever, kind of. So I'm excited to see it. I'm not the biggest fan of heavyweights. I prefer the little guys because I'm one myself, and the big guys get all the fanfare and the attraction.
Just last one, as you mentioned, Josh Taylor, he's out training in Fuerteventura, I believe. What's the next stage with him? Obviously, he had that fight cancelled, like everything else was cancelled. We know Ramirez and Postel are going to face off. Is there any update on Josh Taylor?
Josh Taylor will defend his IBF title against his mandatory from Thailand. I forget the name off the top of my head.
Conlan.
Yeah, Conlan. It's looking likely September 29th, 26th, I think it is the date off the top of my head. And he's been back training. It'll be his first camp under with Ben Davison. The lockdown's probably helped him more than most, because this is a new trainer. It's time to adapt. You're not getting an easy pick and fight. You're getting your mandatory, who's coming to win, an undefeated power puncher from Thailand. So it's good. It's good that he's had a wee bit of extra time. They've got out to Spain. They've had a lot of time together, a lot of one-on-one time. And this is also a potential tough fight for Josh. It's a big fight, but it's similar to Carl's situation, where you have Postel and Ramirez down at the back of his head that is going to get made, and it's the fight everyone wants to see. So he can't take his eye off the ball. The mandatories are always very tough fights, and this is kind of another one that he just has to get the head down and knuckle down and get it out of the way. And
that likely to be in Scotland?
Likely. With the travel restrictions, it's likely to be in Scotland. And I know there was some idea of being floated around to go to Vegas and be on one of the top ranked cards over there, but it's likely to be in Scotland.
Okay, great stuff, Jamie. Appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to Saturday night with Mick Conlan.
Yeah, stay safe, mate. Enjoy
Cheers.
Saturday.
Nice one.